Hey guys, 5-Minute Faith today. We're still in Isaiah 40. This is the last two sentences of the verse. In the King James it says, "And who has calculated the dust of the earth in a measure, weighed the mountains in scales and the hills in a balance?" The New Living Translation says, "Who else knows the weight of the earth or has weighed the mountains and hills on a scale?" So once again, we're getting an image of God's bigness, of how insignificant this world and we are by comparison. Like we said, and I have been saying for days, we got this small, intimate picture of God first. Now we're moving into his power. But I think there's one really specific application to this particular image. We feel like we walk through our day constantly hitting new mountains to climb, right? So sometimes they're within our control. Sometimes we make wrong choices, or we sin, or we're mistaken and we go in a wrong direction, and we can create obstacles for ourselves. Other times, probably more often, things come into our lives or into the lives of people that we love, and they feel insurmountable. They feel like I am never going to get to the end of this, or I'm never going to be able to conquer this. I had a situation last year. My mother was diagnosed terminal with stage 4 melanoma. It was everywhere in her body, everywhere, except her brain. And we had been told that she would die within 4 to 6 months. And even though I don't take that particular time frame as Bible, it definitely gives you an understanding of how dire the medical community believe the situation is. And my mother and I are very close, and it was one of the most difficult years of my life. I spent several months genuinely believing that we were about to lose her, and I did not feel ready for that. I felt that I could deal with it spiritually, but when I looked at all the practical responsibilities and losses and griefs, and trying to support my son, who's very close to his grandma, being my sister's contact, she lives out of the country, the way the whole family would be impacted, I felt overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed with the idea of trying to cope with that on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute basis. And I have to tell you, I never found complete freedom from the fear of that. But what I did find, even in the middle of it, was God's constant reassurance that he had it under control. It felt insurmountable. It felt like I was facing Mount Everest and it was going to kill me to get to the top. And I didn't know what his answer would be. I trusted that somehow he would find a way to get me through. And as it turns out, he decided, at least in this instance, to heal my mother. She did do an experimental treatment. She and my father were confident that God led them to that, and it turned out he did. Her tumors are gone. They may not stay away forever, but for now, she doesn't have any. And that moment of learning that and understanding that was such a mind-boggling. I mean, not only had I seriously underestimated God, but I was faced with, here he'd been reassuring me this whole time, and I had assumed that that meant he was going to strengthen me to face the mountain. But as it turned out, he planned to just knock the mountain down so that we could get back to having a normal-ish life. It was unexpected, it was undeserved, but so wonderful. And it was the first step towards me realizing the reason God tells me not to fear is because none of this is a problem for him. If and when he chooses to do something, literally nothing can stand in his way. So when we talk about a God who knows the weight of the earth and has weighed the mountains, not only are we talking about defeating the undefeatable. But we're talking about knowledge and power that cannot be moved. Cannot be moved. So talk to God about that today. Find your mountains and ask God how much they weigh and what He's going to do about it. And I'll see you tomorrow.